Okay, hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar called Eating for Stress and Coping. My name is Emma Carpenter and I will be your moderator today. For those of you who are not familiar with 12 Weeks to Wellness, who's hosting this webinar today, we've been providing health and wellness coaching for individuals, groups, and organizations across North America for over 15 years now. And I can say that we truly just believe in people's ability to create healthy and fulfilled lives and live to their full potential. I'm excited to introduce you to our speaker, Bettina Mackenbach, today. Bettina is a certified coach and a registered dietitian with 12 Weeks to Wellness. She has worked with many people over the years, helping them to improve their quality of lives by changing unproductive habits into healthier and more productive ones. Today, she's going to share some of her best strategies with you on how to eat well in times of stress and uncertainty. If you want to learn more about our coaching programs, you can visit our website, 12weekstowellness.com. Before I hand over the mic to Bettina, I have just a couple of housekeeping items to cover. First, today's webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be made available to everyone after the session. I've gone ahead and muted everyone to avoid any background noise, but would love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you do have a question for Bettina, please feel free to send it through the chat. We'll open that up as well. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session. If we don't get to your question during this brief 30-minute webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterwards as well. Bettina, over to you.
Thank you, Emma. Hey, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today. So today we're going to look a little bit closer at the relationship between eating and stress and how we can use nutrition to promote emotional, physical, and mental resiliency, especially during this time, without having to reach for food as a way to cope with stress. Many of us are struggling right now with their eating, and probably in different ways than we used to. So I do get a lot of, client calls who are now telling me that they're really struggling while working at home because they feel like they're grazing all day long. And before, issues were a little bit different. And there's a lot of research out there that suggests that when people are in a crisis situation like we're in right now, and when we're very stressed, is that one of the first things that will change is our eating behavior. And as we know, that nutrition will impact our physical, emotional, and mental health. So it's priority. It's very important. And there's actually physiological reasons for turning to food when our world has literally turned upside down. And what happens is that during these times, the body tends to crave high-calorie, high-sugar foods during stressful times because what happens is that stress increases cortisol levels, which increases our appetite. And what that does, it gives us these short bursts of energy and gives us that perceived comfort that we're looking for during this time. So I'm just curious to hear from you. If you want to just quickly write in the chat box, what are some of the challenges that you are facing right now when it comes to nutrition? And perhaps if we do have time at the end, we can look at some of those.
All right, I've opened up the chat for everyone there, Bettina. See what everybody has for challenges that we might be able to address today. So please add anything that you may have into the chat. Not eating when I'm bored and only when I'm hungry. I think we can all sign on that line.
That's a big one. Yeah, and we'll address that later.
Anything else, anybody? Chocolate, too much.
Yeah, it's a familiar one.
I'm going to let someone else in here too. Feel the need to snack all the time.
Yeah.
How about the sort of the need to plan a little bit more than usual because you don't want to have to go to the store all the time?
Exactly. So
snacking for no reason, working from home and the kitchen is so close by. Yeah.
So it sounds like we're going to address all of these things during this webinar. So what we're going to do today is we're going to examine the challenges and then the opportunities that are present there for us. We're going to discuss how to create new routines to set ourselves up for success, which is going to be really important. I would say that's the most important part of this presentation. We're going to look at emotional and then also at mindful eating as techniques to help us. We're going to look at eating healthy for resiliency to stress, and then specifically at anxiety and nutrition and specific foods that can help with that. And then lastly, we're going to look at putting together a meal plan that incorporates some of these foods. So stress has always been present, and it's normal to have stress in our lives and to feel the stress. But right now, I think we can all agree that we may not just, have one stressful thing happening. It might be all of these that I'm listing here. So we're all living with uncertainty. Sometimes even just the empty shelves gives us that feeling of scarcity that can be very stressful. Disruption of routines, all of our usual routines. Now we have children at home that we have to sort of homeschool and supervise, our spouses, so we don't have that personal space maybe that we had in office before. We can really focus. Gyms are closed, so I have a lot of clients who are really struggling with that, finding a new activity routine, because that can really help us, of course, during stressful times to have some physical activity. Financial stress, huge for a lot of people right now. And then, of course, the whole notion of, us needing to physically or socially distance ourselves, especially, if we're people that like to go out, meet with others. And of course, now we can do that online, but it's still a disruption. So as I said, it is normal to feel stress, and it is absolutely normal during these times to feel maybe more anxious, sadness, depression. So different feelings that are going on right now, and we just have to recognize them, that they're real. So, but really what we want to do here today is look at the possibilities that are offered to us in this moment and embrace change. So look at it as almost like a reset. Now we have the time to work on this, to work on us actually, especially when we're working from home. So I'm going to talk about routines. And as I said, I really, really feel that this is really important right now, because before we even look at healthy eating, we need to examine really the bigger picture and setting ourselves up for being able to create and fitting healthy habits and healthy nutrition habits into our life. So let's then look at setting up some new routines for creating a new emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical space for ourselves during this time. Really, the power is within us to take control and create some new ideas for routines to support ourselves and even how we relate to other people that we're sharing our physical space with right now, since we're all kind of crammed at home. As routines really are the foundation for being able to come from a different place and to, feel more in control, where, right now we just don't feel we have that much control, at least over the things that are going on outside, in this world right now. So we're going to look at setting up new routines, and these are not prescriptions by any means. These are only suggestions, so it could look a little bit different for everybody. I'm going to start out with the evening routine, because the evening routine really sets the tone for the next day. So going to sleep at around the same time every night, extremely important. Our bodies love routine. And I put down practicing gratitude, because if we go to bed and the last thing we look at are the news, we scroll down on our phone and we see all the news, or we watch TV. So instead, how about this? How about scanning your day for what went well? What are you grateful for? Maybe what are you looking forward to 3 months, 6 months from now? And then also what can be extremely powerful is writing down some intentions for the next day. Because what that does, especially, when sort of everything in our lives is a little bit turbulent right now, is that it helps to sort of organize and focus the mind and really kind of, the brain, and actually help you to sleep when you have set those intentions. And it could be around nutrition, could be one thing around nutrition, could be around work, about different things. And so that in itself, just doing some of these things could give us what I call a transition and help us to go to sleep. For other people, it could be meditation practice, breathing practices. I mean, there's so many things we can do. And then morning routine, again, waking up at around the same time every morning. If you did do the intentions reading over those for the next day. So again, it gives you that focus. And then waking up your body. It could take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just by stretching, doing some breathing. It could be going for a run for half an hour. Could be doing yoga. Again, this could look different for everybody. And then having breakfast. Really, really important, especially now that we're all at home and we all have the fridge right here, very close to us. It's really important that we don't skip meals, so that we don't make up for those calories later in the day and we have those incredible, cravings later on. So again, if you want to go and find your chat box, and I'm just curious, are there any routines that you have set up right now that you find helpful, or maybe anything new that that you're thinking about right now? And so just maybe share that with us.
Thanks, Bettina. I've opened up the chat there again now, and maybe just recognizing as well that even though lots of us are working from home now, there are still obviously essential workers out there that are still very much out there, not at the comfort of their home, and have different routines and very stressful because of that as well. So just want to recognize that as well. All right, anybody want to add something to the chat? Okay, I'm doing the intermittent fasting, but finding that I really make up for the shift by snacking too much. I listen to music instead of news all the time, especially during breakfast. Good idea.
Nice. Okay, anything else?
I got let go of my job on Monday, and since then I've been doing yoga and meditating every day at 1 p.m. Take the time to sit down and have a good breakfast without phone, getting exercise and fresh air daily.
Nice. Sounds like some great new routines. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, so now we're going to look at specifically eating and stress and the relationship between the two. And we do all know that stress can definitely impact our appetite. So short-term stress actually can shut down our appetite, because when we're experiencing short-term stress, what happens is that it releases adrenaline, because of the fight or flight response. And what that does, it temporarily just, puts almost a hold on eating. We just don't want to eat. But when there's persistent stress, such as in a situation like right now, where we don't know when the end is there, it actually increases appetite and the motivation to eat. And so a different hormone, cortisol, is now released, which again increases our motivation or us wanting to eat. So it's almost like, it's stuck in the on position where we just want to eat constantly. And really, stress affects food preferences. As I said earlier, we are now wanting more of these high-fat, high-sugar foods, and that in turn increases insulin levels, and also a hunger hormone called ghrelin, which is increased as well. And then what happens is that the reward centers in our brain get activated, and we're sort of removing ourselves from the negative emotions that we're feeling. So what emotional eating really does, it diffuses these uncomfortable feelings that we're feeling. And so what is really important during this time is that we do show compassion toward ourselves. So this is absolutely normal, what we're feeling and how we're feeling, and just recognizing that. Because feeling guilt, shame, and anger toward ourselves, really all what that does, it just perpetuates the emotional eating. And so really what we want to do is show kindness toward ourselves right now, and know that you're not alone, and seek out help if necessary. So emotional eating, what is that? We all know what it is. It's eating for reasons other than hunger. So other reasons than physical hunger. There's also mouth hunger. Mouth hunger is that when you've initiated eating and you just go beyond your hunger level, that's when food tastes so good. So it's when it tastes so good, that's mouth hunger. And again, it's a normal reaction to stress to experience that. Again, you mostly want highly palatable foods, and also usually emotional hunger comes on very suddenly, and we want very specific foods. And physical hunger comes on more gradually. But if this continues and we're using emotional eating as a coping mechanism, as a response to how we're dealing with stress, it can easily become a very addictive behavior. And a lot of us know about this very well. Um, so let's look at some strategies then for emotional eating specifically. So this is a strategy that I actually use with my clients a lot during my coaching sessions. So they experience it firsthand and it works really well. And then they go home and experiment with it a little bit more. And so what I ask them to do is that when they, want to reach for food, let's say you want to reach for that cookie, or you want to reach for the chocolate, ask yourself, am I physically or emotionally hungry? And when you say, yeah, I know it's a craving, I'm not actually physically hungry, then you do want to get in touch with the emotion. So in other words, check in with yourself and saying, well, how am I feeling in this moment? Am I bored? Am I maybe you're tired? Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. And just realizing that sometimes can be helpful. And again, there's no right or wrong. And then to ask, okay, so what do I need right now? What do I need when I feel, and in this example here, I'm using bored, when I'm bored. We know it's not food, because if you had said you're hungry, you need food, but you said I'm bored. So the need might be what you really need to do, not distract yourself with food, but to immerse yourself in an activity that you enjoy. And then to say, so what is a step that I can take right now towards meeting the need, or honoring or listening to the need versus reaching for food? So in this example, I said I feel bored, so I could, if I had a piano, I could play the piano for 10 minutes or work on a puzzle for 30 minutes, or do something. And why I'm choosing these specific examples is that because eating in part is kinesthetic, because you're using your hands. So when you're using something, where you're using your hands, that can actually work really well. Now, this is another strategy. This is more to work with physical hunger and overeating. So I use this as well with my clients during the coaching call. And then again, they go home and they experiment with it. So this is the hunger and fullness scale. On the one end of the spectrum, it's the hunger. So one is obviously you're starving. And we all know what happens if we initiate eating when we're ravenous. Most likely we're going to crave carbohydrates and we will overeat. So we wouldn't stop at a 5 or a 6. Most likely we'll eat above that. And at the other end of the spectrum, well, we're sick to our stomach. That's a 10. So how this works is that, first of all, I would suggest, choose a meal when you're relaxed to experiment with that. So most likely not lunchtime, especially when you're working, maybe a dinner. And then you could keep a journal if you'd like. And you want to rate your hunger before you eat. So you want to kind of say, okay, when am I starting to eat? Ideally, you want to start eating when you're at a 3, so you're hungry. And then maybe 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes into the meal, depending on how quickly you eat, again, check in. Say, where am I on the hunger scale right now? Am I close to getting satisfied? How does it feel in my body right now as I've, started to eat? And then you want to, again, check in at the end. Where are you at the end of the meal? Are you full? Maybe have you eaten, to the extent that you're very full? And so you can also experiment with different kind of fullness levels and see how that feels maybe an hour later. And one specific suggestion that I have for those that are really quick eaters, because that can be an issue, what you will do is just start off with a smaller plate and fill that up so that it looks like a full plate. And then after you've eaten that, wait 20 minutes. Because it does take at least 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that you're full. And so you give it that time for that connection to take place, and then ask yourself after 20 minutes, how does it feel in my body? Do I still need more? Does my body still need more? And really recognizing what's going on. Okay. So now what we're going to look at some other eating tips for stress. And I think somebody mentioned it earlier, planning and prepping meals ahead of time. Really, really important, because really what it does, it really puts your mind at ease. When I do it, things work really well for me. When I don't plan and prep, not so good. And then we're going to look at, during very stressful days, actually, to rather focus on eating smaller portions, because again, our body is not focused on digestion when we're in fight or flight mode. And then, trying to eat every 3 to 4 hours, we'll look at that to minimize highs and lows, especially in blood sugar levels, and then eating a balanced breakfast. I mentioned it earlier, extremely important. So some quick tips here on meal planning. So brainstorming a list of 10 to 5 dinner ideas that you can rotate through the work week is a great idea. Maybe pre-chopping some vegetables, again, in advance, that you can maybe even use for several meals or for some snacks. And then using some equipment where you can make, cook things up in some batches or even freeze it, such as the slow cooker, the Instapot. And then always having a backup plan. So I really like the idea of repurposing ingredients. So sometimes that's what I do. I have some things, for dinner, let's say salmon and brown rice, and then I can repurpose it the next day for lunch and making what I call a grain-based salad, using some of that salmon with the brown rice. I throw in lots of greens, leafy greens, and then maybe some pumpkin seeds, avocado, and it's a great lunch. As I said earlier, it's important that we don't want these highs and lows in blood sugars, because they can actually, make us feel quite uncomfortable. And we may have experienced some of that, feeling extremely tired, almost weak, really getting irritable. It can also increase anxiety if we're already prone to that. So we want to be careful with that. And on the other end, we don't want to overeat either, because that can, rob energy, because now our body is focused on digestion. So instead of the energy going somewhere else. So we want to include some smaller meals with snacks, so smaller snacks. So these are some ideas here. And they're all quite balanced, is that all of these snacks here, if you see, all have a good source of protein and or healthy fats with them. And then let's look at nutrients that help specifically with anxiety. And you may notice some of them here showing up, in different categories. So these are the ones that we really want to stress on. So for example, under vitamins, we have folic acid found in beans, lentils, and chickpeas. Those are our legumes, eggs, leafy greens, vitamin B12, really important in energy. When individuals are low in B12, they can feel very fatigued. So that's really going to help also with anxiety when you have that energy found in eggs, fish, dairy. And for vegans, you can get it through using nutritional yeast. Choline is another vitamin found in eggs and peanuts. And then we have some minerals here. So magnesium actually is really important, because magnesium helps to relax different muscles in our body. So a lot of people actually use magnesium at night to help them relax, to be more in their bodies and help them prepare for sleep. So, and you can either get, some of these magnesium sources here, like avocado, again, beans, lentils, and chickpeas, and nuts and seeds, or you can even get it in a supplement form. There are some magnesium powders that you can use at night. And zinc is another good one, also good for immune function as well. Again, we're seeing our nuts and seeds here, legumes and eggs. They seem to show up a lot. And then omega-3 fatty acids that are very important in mental and brain health in general. Again, you could take a supplement, or you can get it through using ground flaxseed, which works really well. You can use it in a yogurt, maybe with oatmeal in the morning, almonds and walnuts, again, dark green leafy vegetables. And then specific amino acid tryptophan. And a lot of us are familiar with, the effects that turkey can have on us. It makes us really tired, makes us relax. So that's the tryptophan. And it's also found in eggs, soy products, pumpkin seeds, and then antioxidants. So not only do they help with anxiety, but they also help with our immune system. So, sources of vitamin E, vitamin C, carotenoids, and flavonoids. So really important to incorporate a variety of all of these. And, good idea is to start off your day with a really good source in tryptophan. So perfect breakfast could be, having some sort of egg dish with half an avocado. Again, the avocado providing the magnesium. It could be a tofu scramble. If you wanted to go vegetarian or vegan, again, having that with avocado. And then making sure that maybe trying to say, okay, how could I include a source of omega-3 fatty acids daily? Not too difficult at all. Could have some nuts, especially walnuts or almonds with a snack, having salmon a little bit more often during the week. And the other thing, we really want to avoid high sugar foods right now, because what they do, again, when our blood sugars, spike and then drop, it can really, cause that anxiety and make it feel worse. And then also avoiding processed foods. And, we see this in children all the time, and after they've, gotten a lot of artificial sweeteners, is that it's linked to irritability. Staying hydrated, very important as well. That can also cause more irritability, as well as increased caffeine. If we're getting too much caffeine, that can increase your heart rate. It can also increase anxiety. And so I just put an example here. 12 ounces of coffee approximately will give us 250 milligrams of caffeine. And then you may wonder, what are psychobiotics? So in other words, there is a close connection between the gut and the brain that has been actually studied quite a lot. And so in other words, when our gut and the bacteria in our gut, so the healthy bacteria are present, is that it actually helps with brain health. And apparently, getting more of these prebiotics, so they're all very rich in fiber, so vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, they actually feed the good bacteria in our gut. So the probiotics, that's their food. And so having a combination of the prebiotics and the probiotics, such as, kimchi, kefir, and tempeh, can also, really help you right now, and also is very anti-inflammatory and has also antioxidant effects. So something to consider as well. And then, as I said, this is just a sample day here where we're kind of putting it all together, eggs or tofu for breakfast with avocado, and lots of nuts and seeds. If you notice here, I'm having it with the snacks here. I'm including it, and I'm including it with lunch as well. So just to give you an idea. So first of all, does anybody want to share any step, anything, any takeaway maybe that they're having from today, or do you have any questions? I know we're kind of running out of time here.
Okay, we'll open up the chat there, Bettina. And if you're enjoying these webinars, please make sure that you follow us then on social media to find out about any upcoming events that we have. We will have more of these free webinars coming up. And if you're looking for support and accountability during this time, we are providing coaching specific to self-care and building resilience in terms of this COVID-19. If you want to work with a coach to focus on how you can use your personal strengths during this time, you can reach out to us. You can look at our website, or you could just give us a call to find out if coaching is right for you. You have the website. I'll put the phone number in the chat. Some things that are coming in here in the chat now. Okay, take the time to sit down. So getting exercise and fresh air daily. Limit my consumption of processed foods. Limit my caffeine and sugar. Use the fullness scale. So these are some great examples from today's talk, Bettina.
Excellent.
We'll start incorporating.
Good.
All right. Good. Well, thank you so much, Bettina, for today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all for showing up.
A couple more comments here. I'll play with my animals and go for horse rides and walk with my dogs. Thank you. Great information. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for signing up today and staying with us for this. And stay safe and be well. And hopefully you got some good examples and suggestions for you, how you can maintain a healthy diet in these uncertain times. Bye, everybody.
Okay.